Good Monday morning. It is 2023, the 13th of March. Spring break season has officially begun. It is absolute pandemonium here around the Walt Disney World Resort. It is extremely busy. And what should we do when it's that busy? Let's go to Magic Kingdom. It's Matt, Main Street Fire Rescue. We are officially in service and yes, on the air. As I said, I am headed to Magic Kingdom. I'm currently fenced in here. I parked at the Contemporary. I had a little bit of early lunch, late breakfast, brunch if you will, and then I'm gonna walk to Magic Kingdom. That is a little tip. If you have a car and are driving to Magic Kingdom and you don't mind spending, if you're gonna have a lunch or breakfast or even a dinner and you don't mind spending a little extra money, make a reservation at Steakhouse 71 and go in and have a nice sit-down meal, and then from there you can walk to Magic Kingdom. You don't have to mess with the ticket transportation center. You don't have to do the ferry boat, the monorail. I mean, you can do the monorail, but the only thing from here is then you don't go this way to Magic Kingdom. You have to go start at Contemporary, then it goes to Ticket Transportation Center, Polynesian, Grand Floridian, Magic Kingdom. You can walk there much faster. So you have the option, however, much quicker to walk. So I'm going to be walking to Magic Kingdom. It is spring break. What are we doing today? Well, I'll tell you what we're doing. We're going to do a in-depth look at the Main Street Firehouse. I figure for this channel being Main Street Fire Rescue, let's take a look at the fire station. You know, I've seen a lot of YouTubers do a feature on the fire station, but none of them are firefighters. And they do a tour, but they don't really explain what everything is. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to explain to you what all the equipment is in there, what it all means, what it does, show you around a little bit, and then from there we'll walk around Magic Kingdom as time permits. So with that, I'm going to begin my walk over to the Magic Kingdom, and I will see you all very shortly. About 2 more weeks of those banners. See right here, walkway to Magic Kingdom. Now normally I can walk from here all the way to the Ticket Transportation Center, but that walkway is currently closed for another month or 2 because they are constructing the new Disney Vacation Club Polynesian Tower that looks nothing like the resort, I may add. And Space Mountain's get a nice new refresh. It was definitely needed. And then we are only 2.5 weeks away from Tron, the official grand opening. So just about a 5-minute walk. I'm at the entrance to Magic Kingdom. There's guest relations. All of these ticket booths right here where people are trying to get in, these are all people that have paid for day tickets. Now one thing to keep in mind is annual pass holders, unless you have the top tier annual pass, you are blocked out this week and I think next. So there is a specific spot for annual pass holders, and it's usually the one with nobody in line. You want to see a record amount of matching shirts? Come on spring break. Like, there is a ton of them. All of these people have bought day tickets at one of the most expensive prices of the year. Right here, annual pass holder. Yeah, just like I said, nobody here. Today is also a $30 Genie Plus day, and 4 days ago it was only 18 bucks. So it's basically doubled in 4 days. Welcome to Main Street Main Street USA. There's a whole bunch of people queuing up here for what? I have no idea. And then so we're going to check out the Main Street Fire Station right here, one of which the channel is kind of based off of. And then from there we're going to go take a walk. of this distinguished for how we extinguish. And on this side we've got Fire Engine Company number 71 on display. Very cool. Right now there's a kind of a string of Peloponnese in here, so I'm going to let the activity settle down a minute and then we'll go in and take a look. So just checking out the firehouse from outside. This tall structure here, this would be your hose drying tower if this was a real operating station, or would be the stairwell also. The station I used to work at in Indiana had a giant tower like this, and it went all the way up to the attic, or from the basement all the way to the attic, and it had a pulley system. We didn't use it anymore, but that's what was used to dry the hoses. They'd raise them all the way up top and let them all dangle, and they'd air dry. They had a ventilation system in there. They'd bring them back down and we'd take them back up to the bay. This would be the front door normally. Obviously a secondary egress from the upper floor. Living quarters, more likely chief's offices up there. And then down here below everything was the fire apparatus, or the apparatus bay as we call it. Now one thing I will say, when I was a rookie, we had a red floor similar to this. Now it wasn't tiled, it was just red. It was red dyed concrete. And part of the job for the newbie was about once every couple months, you had to strip the floor, polish it, shine it, along with the tile floors upstairs. So that was my job. I got really good with how to strip and polish and wax floors, or strip, wax, and polish floors, I should say. That was my job for a better part of a year and a half. So I was excellent at it. And then up on the wall here are all patches from around the country and around the world. It's funny too, because I worked for Monticello Fire in Indiana, and I swear every state has a Monticello. Yeah, this is really cool. Oh, Mooresville, Indiana. So, perfect timing. Nobody's in here right now, so we can actually do this. So, around the actual firehouse here, so this obviously is the apparatus bay. Living quarters are upstairs. Each apparatus bay has different sections back here for working on various things. So, if you got to go all the way back to the early days. I love the Dalmatian here with the... these are technically what they would use. This is for the old bucket brigades. They do have one with some... dog bones, some delicious dog treats in there. He seems to be very focused on. This would be an old bucket brigade. They'd fill these up, pass them along, and dump it on the fire. Over in here, this was something our station had. Obviously, it was not in service when I was working there, but we had an area that used to be the old horse stall that was converted into the part-time locker room and living quarters. There's another fire bucket back there, obviously. Hay for the horses, all kinds of rigging for the horses, old school fire pump. So what you do is pump that down and create pressure, and then you'd open the hose up and spray water. This was like, I swear every fire station has one of these. It's kind of a catch-all on the back where you put a bunch of stuff that you're not using or things that you're going to have projects on, hang tools, whatever, kind of goes on the back wall of the fire station. Helmets, more fire brigade buckets, probably a little toolbox, and then again more stuff for the horses. These also would be horse stalls as well. Guys, sounds like they're backing a fire truck in here. So these also could be used for horse stalls. Actually, in my old station, you could see where the stalls used to be. They actually had the old school pulleys where they could lower the hay down from the hayloft. This actually right here is just that. That's an old hayloft. You drop the hay in and it would hold it right there, and the horse could go up there and you could feed off of it, or you could pull it out and feed the horses. These are old-time hydrant wrenches. Okay, that's for the top part of the hydrant that you open it up. This would open up the larger nozzles on the hydrant, or it could be done opposite ways depending on your hydrant. And this actually goes around the hose coupling, and you can actually use that to wrench it down and tighten the hose. So you can see the different sizes. Or actually, no, those are all the same. It's just an optical illusion. Right here you have the main bell. Anytime a fire comes in, they have different names: the gong, the bell, sometimes the old klaxon alarm, and then of course right next to the fire pole. Usually that was tucked away right by the bedroom somewhere, where or the living quarters, somewhere close, and then you'd get a call, come sliding down the pole and get on your apparatus. Right here would be your gear lockers, obviously fans for the summertime, and then usually you'd have a station phone, or you'd have a dispatch pad here. Call would come in, the captain or whoever would write down the address on there and then hand it to the engineer, so you know exactly where you were going. All right, so starting off with the fire apparatus, this is the best part right here. So this seat right here, yes, the driver, not the driver, but in fire terms, this is the engineer's seat. This person here is responsible for not only getting the fire truck to the scene, but also you are in charge of making sure you have adequate water supply, that you have enough hose to get what you need done, that you have, if you're a rural firefighting operation, that you have your tankers lined up or your tender apparatus so you can get the appropriate amount of water for what you're dealing with. This seat has a very, very, very intense job to do, and some might argue it's one of the harder ones on the fire ground, just because of all, especially if you're first due, meaning you're the first company to arrive, you have a lot of work to do in a very short period of time. The seat right next to this one, that's going to be the officer's seat, captain's seat, lieutenant, whoever's officer of the day that day is going to sit right next to the engineer, and their job is going to be run the radio, keep communications going. That is the old federal siren, or they call it the federal cue because it works by queuing it up. All that is a fan blade inside, and when you spin this real fast, it creates that roar. That's all it is. And so now they're electronically, they call it the electric federal cue, or the electric cue. So this is obviously way back in the day. And then also, this guy here would be doing all the radio work and everything. So what you have to do as a driver, this is probably get it in gear, I would imagine. That's probably your brake. And then this lever right here, that's probably your pump shift. So if my guess is correctly, if you're going to arrive at a fire scene and you need to start flowing water, what you would do, you put your truck apparatus engine in neutral right here, set the brake, and then once it's in neutral, you flip that switch up, which then what that does is that moves the drive shaft from the main transmission and slides it over and connects it to the pump. And then what happens when you see that line up, that little light will come on, meaning that it's lined up, and then you flip the switch, and then when that light lights up, that means you have an actual good connection and your impeller is spinning. So your drive shaft is actually switched over and is running the pump at that point. And that means, so when you're fighting fire, you actually have an impeller similar to how a jet ski works, and that's what pushes your water out of the fire engine. When you're done, same thing, it's just everything in reverse. You take and you shut the little switch off there, which brings it out of gear, or not out of gear, but it shuts off the spinning, and then you move that back over, which slides which stops the impeller from moving, and then you take your lever and pull it back, and then it slides it from the pump gear back into drive gear, and then when you're all set to head home back to the station, take the brake off, put it back in drive, and off you go. You don't want to try to move when that sucker's in pump gear, or you don't want to try to put it in pump gear while your drive shaft is still spinning, because anybody that's watching this as a firefighter knows what that sounds like. It's the most god-awful sound ever made. So what you would do, once you've established your water supply, is you would connect the hose right to here, either hard suction for static water supply or drafting, or from a hydrant where it's pressurized, and that gauge right there will show you how much pressure you have coming into your fire pump. And then what that lever is there, you move that open, and that opens up the valve which will then allow the water to go into the fire pump and then out this way, where if you open this lever up, then whatever hose is connected here will fill up with water, and it will come out somewhere a little bit less than the pressure that's reading here. More modern fire pumps like now, I mean, everything's got a gauge. It's real easy to tell what's going on. This would truly be a challenge. But if you are a good engineer, they always say, if you can pump one fire truck, you can pump them all. And that is true. This lockbox here, this likely is the engineer's compartment. This same compartment exists on today's fire trucks. They're just either mounted here or up top right here. But this likely has a bunch of attachments and different things that you would need, wrenches and such, to make sure your connections are correct and that you have the proper couplings to create the connection. Also here, I'm guessing, I think this is a horn because it's facing backwards. It's letting the people know in the back that you're getting ready to move. That would be, I think, why it's facing backwards. I don't think it's a horn like today's engines, you know, or they aren't the air horns. How they would communicate back here would be, one blast would be like, hey, we're leaving. Two blasts is slowing down, and that way the people standing up back here would have an idea of what's going on, and it wouldn't surprise them. And then this big beacon right here, this was moved back and forth or up and down, and that was kind of the early days of the warning lights. And these two, these are your main, obviously your headlights. Also back in the day, this was done by kerosene. That's pretty amazing. And if we could open this up, obviously the engine compartment, you can see also on the fire officer's side, same thing. You also have an intake, and you have a main pump valve. So again, water coming in, water coming out on top. Always comes in on the lower end, comes out on the top end. You also can find a plate on here that would give you your gallons per minute. Also under here, this is the axe. This is another, what would be a compartment. This would be generalized. You know, any tools that the other firefighters might need would be in here. These tools back here, this is your strainer. This is if you're going to be doing a drafting operation from a draft tank or from a lake, pool, or river. You would put that on the end, and what that does is that prevents any kind of main junk from getting sucked into the hose and winding up in your pump, which is not good. This is an adapter. This can basically, if you need to reduce your hose down, you can put that on here, right there on the outlet, and then, or I'm sorry, on the, right there, in the intake or outlet. If you had a smaller hose coming in, you could put that right there, which then you could put a smaller diameter hose coming into the pump. They call that a reducer. I believe this is the brake light back here, or either that or as a form of warning light. Right here is the bell. A lot of the firefighters would ring this, you know, just to, you know, it's the early days of warning. And then back here, this would be a, what we would call pre-connect or non-connect. This isn't connected to anything right now, so this would be considered as non-connect. If this was already tied into a pump, that would be considered a pre-connect hose. This is the old school nylon jacket, heavy duty rubberized hose with the old school brass. And yes, that's a smooth bore. There is a big argument, smooth bore versus combo. I don't think it'll be an argument that's ever won. One year it's all about smooth bore, the next it's back to combination nozzles. So I always like the discussion that ensues on that. So what you would do for firefighting is you would take this and you would find something like a smaller hose, because that's not going to connect to here. So you'd have to find either a reducer or a smaller hose to adapt to that, and then you could run that to your fire source and then begin your firefighting operations. This tool here, this is a New York hook or pike pole. It has many different names. I like the New York hook. But what this is for puncturing through and then pulling down. So like if we want to pull this ceiling out, you'd shove that pole up into the ceiling, and then that hook would grab it, you pull down, and it'd help open up the ceiling so you could expose the fire, help pull ceiling down. That's a big part. Like if you have a fire up there and you're not sure, and your thermal camera indicates you got a hot spot right there, you can shove that pike pole through the ceiling and pull it down and expose the fire and knock it down that way. And then this is one of the early days of fire extinguishers. I actually have one of these at home. This is done by all gravity fed. So what this is all the way filled up, and you see the hose right here. And if you go to firefighting, you would actually cap your thumb over the nozzle and flip this sucker upside down, so then that reverses the pressure, which is all here, and you'd uncap your thumb from the little hose here, and then you just spray out whatever you were aiming at. Sometimes you could probably put some foam in here. Sometimes it's just water-based, just water firefighting. But yeah, the early days of the extinguishers, pretty cool. And I think that's just about everything. Oh, one more thing. So, went over the seating, engineer, captain, and then back here. So in modern fire trucks, you have obviously seats that are back here, not bench seats, but this would be the Delta firefighter, and that would be the Charlie seat. And then any seats back here would be, what is it, ABC, Delta, Echo, or no, not Delta, but it'd be Echo, and then onward through the back if there were any other seats. But most fire trucks have 3 seats, 2 or 3 seats behind, facing this way. So you're riding, that's the term, riding backwards as we call it, or backstepping, which took the term from the old school days of riding back here. So anybody that rides backwards, if you ever hear a fireman say, "What position do you ride?" He goes, "Oh, I'm backstepping." That means they're riding backwards. And then so that's your Charlie seat. That's usually right behind the captain. That's generally your most junior firefighter. That's the one that's going to be with the captain for a while, learning the ropes and learning how to be a good fireman. His job is also, as soon as he gets off the apparatus, is you're going to grab the can, you're going to grab a hook, and any other tools that are necessary, likely the thermal imaging camera and anything that's needed for interior fire operations. The guy in the Delta seat right here, this is more of your senior man position, because you're working a lot of times by yourself early on before you all group back up again. So one of the things the Delta firefighter would do, the Delta seat, is he would get out of the apparatus, grab whatever tools are necessary, and he would grab things like this, like the ladders, and then also any tools needed to what they would call soften the structure, meaning you would take that ladder and put it either up to the roof if it was a single story, or you'd put it up to a window if it was a multi-story. And you would actually want a couple more ladders than this, but yeah, you want at least 2 ways of egress in and out of a house. Should firefighters actually get trapped, you want them to have a way out. So that's why you try to put this in as many places as possible. Again, they call that softening the structure. And depending on staffing, it's usually done by one person. It's quite a bit. And then they also go and secure the utilities to the house if possible. They don't pull meters much anymore because that was incredibly dangerous. So things like locating the fuse panel, making sure power is secure if they can, doing a quick walk around along with the officer to make sure there's no identifiable hazards to look out for, especially if you're going to make an entry. And then once all that's done, the captain in the Proby, basically, or the Charlie seat, is going to be at the front door, and then the Delta guy, after he's done, is going to meet everybody at the front door, and then you're going to begin interior fire operations. And then it's just kind of, once you basically go in for a while and you start, if you have the staffing, your air tank starts beeping off. Then you got 5 minutes to exit the structure, and then basically you radio to command that you're going to come out, and then they're going to get the next crew ready to go in. And so while all that's happening, then your next due engines and ladders and all that are arriving, and then all of those have different assignments. So let's say this is first due. You're going to see this pull past the house. Okay, they always say, people always freak out like, "You're passing my house." No, that's part of the strategy. The engine goes past the address, then the ladder truck comes in. The ladder truck takes the physical address of the house that's on fire or whatever's going on, and then all of the other apparatus, the next due after that, the engine after that will locate the nearest hydrant, establish water supply. If there is no hydrant, they'll find the nearest water source and start water shuttle operations. The secondary engine will help to secure the water supply, basically. And then anything after that, third due, fourth due, fifth due, rescue, heavy rescue, whatever, all of that will go to the specific assignments based off of what command dictates. So, for example, while one crew is doing interior fire operations, you're going to have another crew. Basically, this is Charlie's side, which would be behind this building. So you're going to have a crew back there. And then depending on how big the structure is, you also will have a fire officer in command of each different side. So you'd have the chief that arrives, or whoever is the highest ranking officer at that moment, establish command. And then once the chief gets on scene, the chief will assume command from that person. Basically, it's a face-to-face handoff. And then that other firefighter will go to work. And if the structure's big enough, the chief will assign divisions and different sides, like it'll be side Bravo, command side Bravo, and then side Charlie, side Delta, and then Alpha is the front. And then if you have a multi-level operation, let's say you got firefighters on the second floor, it would be interior crew second division. So each floor is a division. And if you want to learn more about it, go into the ICS, Incident Command System, and read all about it. I've had to take many classes on that. And basically it's something that was developed after the 9/11 disaster, and it was to aid in better fireground operations and better communications. The other thing we have here, I see they took the rope off of it, but this is old school. This is the Firehouse bell. What this was used for is to signal the start of shift, when they were going out on a fire call, when they were returning from a fire call, and then when their shift was over and the next shift was oncoming. And each one of those moments was signified by the number of times you'd ring the bell. So that's where the fire bell, the tradition of the fire bell, comes from. Now what they've done is a lot of modern fire apparatus have taken that bell and they put it right on the front bumper just to keep tradition, which is really cool. And that, everybody, is the Main Street Firehouse Engine Company 71. I hope you all enjoyed that. I really like giving, even though it's not, a functioning fire station, but I can give you a really good idea of how stuff works. And it's really neat to see some of the old fire apparatus, because all of the new modern equipment we have is all based off of the old school fire equipment. It's really, really cool. So I hope you all enjoyed that. For the Yankees! Here we go! 1, 2, 3! Hey! Let's get some runs! That is awesome. They open Casey's Corner every day like that. It's so good. Glad to catch that.
Your magical Friendship Fair Day here at the Magic Kingdom.
Yes, it would be magical, they said. It would be fun, they said. Back inside one of my favorite resort hotels. What I'm going to do, I'm going to let the weather subside a little bit, and because like I said, I'm parked right out front because I went and had dinner here, or not dinner, but late breakfast. And so I'm going to run downstairs, grab me some Joffreys, take a little walk around, and then once the weather clears, we'll head home. What's crazy is it seems like yesterday, although it's been almost 3 months since I was doing this very same thing on Christmas Day. Time is flying. This is a very cool pin, the 50th Contemporary. As you all see, the sun did break through, so more than likely probably going to head home because it's going to storm again. I pointed this out at Christmas time. I love the themed trash cans. Hi, little chief. This is my production manager right here, making sure we're staying on schedule and getting everything done we need to get done. He's doing a great job. You're well worth your pay, buddy. What is up, everybody? Back home from the Firehouse tour. I hope you all enjoyed that. I had a great time making that video. or vlog, whatever you want to call it. It's something different. You know, I had seen a lot of various vlogs with the Main Street Firehouse, not only at Disney World but Disneyland, and I thought they're all good, but I'm like, what better to get a tour than somebody that's actually in the fire service and has done the work and can point out what the equipment means. Sounds cool, right? So I hope you all enjoyed that. I had a great time filming that. I will see you all real soon. The future is what you make of it, so make it a good one. All he is. See ya.